Excuse the slightly clickbait title, but I've seen the end of Windows XP support and the panic around that, the same with Windows 7. And we're also seeing a lot of changes on the Dell and Nvidia side this year. So we wanted to make sure everyone's aware, up to speed on a year when we're getting asked a lot about upgrading and what you need to do. That topic, just a little overview of the key points. It's always good to keep up to date with SolidWorks. I know you may prefer to lag a little bit behind for stability and making sure you're getting your sort of testing before you're upgrading to the latest release. But there are a lot of improvements, small and big, that will affect your day-to-day workflows. And it's about keeping up to date with the latest software, both for the features and also for the enhancements to performance. Hardware, well, we always say a 3 to 5 year replacement cycle is the kind of optimum balance. It's going to vary depending on what you're trying to achieve, but if you lag too far behind, you're really suffering, and the engineering users are usually the ones who benefit the most. Maybe you can repurpose that internally. And we do a lot of testing, real world data, to give you an idea and help you justify that upgrade as well. Don't forget about keeping those skills up to date. So we do a lot of webcasts, a lot of events, and also dedicated training and consultancy services to make sure you've got those best practices. The best hardware and software, it's only going to get you so far. You need to make sure you're also doing all the things that are going to improve performance with your SolidWorks data sets. And security, that's something that's an even hotter topic every year. At a certain point on the hardware side, obviously they're going to stop supporting it, stop releasing patches. But on the software side, we're seeing the end of support for Windows 10. And similarly, even on the SolidWorks side, there are going to be patches for security vulnerabilities, and SolidWorks are only going to go so far back as developers to patch those. So it gives you some ideas, sort of reasoning behind this webcast, making sure you're aware of the changes that are upcoming. So we started off with the Windows 10 support, and really, what does that mean? You may have seen bits about this, the end of the security updates. It's all coming up, but thought we start off with this and see who is running Windows 10, who's running Windows 11, anyone on even older releases. I had a tour around the country and had about 1,000 users at our events recently around the UK, and there were still some putting their hands up for Windows 7. It's around 60% of people are still running Windows 10 across the industry, so across the world. That shows we're on the right track. Good that we're doing that today. Because support ends in October. And what this means is that there won't be any further patches. And although you can pay Microsoft for extended security updates, that'll cost you hundreds of dollars, hundreds of pounds across the course of a maximum of 3 years per machine. And it doesn't even extend to software support. So even if you're running Microsoft's own products, the Office Suite, OneDrive, etc., they're not going to support you if you have a specific issue with Windows 10 with those programs. And that kind of alludes to why SolidWorks are also stopping support in October, because there are quite a number of prerequisites for SolidWorks that are Microsoft products. So if we get an issue specific to that, we're not going to get any help from Microsoft. So as a result, SolidWorks 2026 will not install on Windows 10. So that's going to be released around the end of October, early November. So it's time to get prepared, both on the kind of Windows side and also to further support SolidWorks. So checking things like your servers also will support a version that will work on Windows 11. So SolidWorks 2022 Service Pack 2 was the first version that supported Windows 11. I'm not going to say it was trouble-free. There were obviously some smaller issues that had to be fixed over the service pack for that release. That's the absolute minimum. We would always recommend being on a version that's within the SolidWorks support lifecycle. Currently, that's SolidWorks 2024 or 2025. So what does this really mean? Well, SolidWorks release software usually around October, November each year, and it gets around a year of service packs, so usually 5 updates. It then gets a further year of hotfix support. So that means critical patches for any particular issues. Maybe there's a Windows update that causes a problem, or there's a security issue. SolidWorks commit to supporting that for 2 years. So that means that's the minimum really they're going to actually support. And you can check for these. So there's both general hotfixes, usually for bugs, but you'll also see some security vulnerabilities on that page. And there's a dedicated page there as well. And this is always more of a hot sort of topic. I know for various compliance to cybersecurity, we have to maintain all our software, make sure it's patched. So if that's a factor for you as well, make sure you're keeping up to date. I'm not saying they're never going to produce a patch for an older release, but there's a limit. They can't go back so far that the development effort would be huge. So what about your existing PC? Is it going to work with Windows 11? Well, there is a nice little check, Microsoft PC Health Check, also the vendor's website. I know Dell have a really good page on this showing you what models are supported, because obviously you've got to have drivers as well as the minimum support. As a general guide, it's got to be 2018 or newer, the CPU, and support TPM 2.0 security. So that is used for encryption on securing the BIOS, things like that in Windows 11. And that's one of the prerequisites to install it. The thing is, should you continue using such outdated hardware, we recommend that 3 to 5 year replacement cycle. And if it does support Windows 11, maybe you can repurpose it somewhere else inside the organization, or you can take advantage of something like Dell's asset recovery. A bit of a teaser,